The upcoming presidential election is on the verge of becoming deeply intertwined with the legal challenges facing Donald Trump. This situation arises as his busy schedule of legal obligations coincides with the countdown to the Iowa caucuses, which are just 2 weeks away. This convergence of legal matters in the campaign trail is poised to set the stage for an unprecedented White House race, overshadowed by the fact that the former president is currently facing 4 pending criminal trials. As the first votes are cast in the Republican primary, the nation is embarking on a political test that will once again strain its unity, democratic principles, and legal institutions to their limits. Trump has made it clear that if he secures a second term, he intends to use it to settle scores with his political opponents and may try to leverage the powers of the presidency to avoid accountability for alleged attempts to undermine the 2020 election.
Depending on the timing of his trials and his potential nomination, the election could even see Trump, the leading candidate for the GOP, running as a convicted felon in the November election. As the primary season gets underway in earnest this month, the most likely scenario for November appears to be a closely contested rematch, a prospect that most polls suggest is not the preferred outcome among voters, between the former president and the incumbent.
What's at stake in 2024?
Trump is determined to make a strong statement by winning Iowa, something he fell short of achieving in 2016, which would mark the initial step in an extraordinary political comeback. It has only been 3 years since he left Washington amidst controversy, after refusing to accept the outcome of the 2020 election and inciting a mob that attacked the U.S. Capitol in a shocking assault on democracy. Now, Trump, who is currently facing a total of 91 criminal charges, finds himself in a favorable position to potentially become the second ex-president, following Grover Cleveland in 1892, to secure a non-consecutive second term, an outcome that would undoubtedly have a significant impact on the nation and the world.
The former president began the new year with a strongly worded social media post filled with unfounded claims about the 2020 election and baseless accusations against President Joe Biden. His tone, characterized by anger and defensiveness, offers a glimpse into Trump's strategy for the 2024 presidential race and the challenges facing the nation. On Truth Social, he asserted that his successor had engaged in an unprecedented level of political attacks and was eager to imprison him. Trump warned that this was a risky game and expressed his belief that the American people would not tolerate it.
CNN reports that the upcoming election is destined to be tumultuous due to the actions taken by Donald Trump following the previous election. Many of the legal challenges he is currently facing stem from his false claims about a stolen election and his desperate attempts to hold on to power by defying the will of the voters. Trump's political exploitation of his legal predicament, including allegations of political persecution by the Biden administration and his increasing extremism, will contribute to a divisive political climate in the lead up to the election. His pledge to use a potential second term for retribution against his adversaries raises concerns about another dark period in American politics.
Meanwhile, Trump's dual existence in both the political and legal arenas in the coming weeks coincides with the efforts of his Republican rivals to prevent his path to a third consecutive Republican nomination. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is banking on a surprising win in Iowa, although polls suggest it's unlikely. Former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is also striving for victory in New Hampshire to set up a head-to-head showdown with Trump. However, neither candidate has been willing to exploit Trump's legal woes, fearing alienation of the GOP base, which has consistently supported Trump despite the legal challenges he faces.
Although voters will ultimately determine the election's outcome, Trump's continued influence over the party appears to be stronger than in 2020, as suggested by his rivals' struggles. However, he remains a risky choice for Republicans in the general election due to his polarizing style, which has previously alienated crucial swing state voters. His rhetoric, reminiscent of 1930s dictators, could play into President Biden's argument that Trump would threaten U.S. democracy and political freedoms.
For President Biden, the next few weeks are critical as he grapples with domestic and foreign policy challenges that could define his year and his prospects for a second term. The deadline for partial government funding on January 19th is fast approaching, with President Biden pushing Congress to pass multi-billion-dollar aid packages for Ukraine and Israel's war efforts. House Republicans are holding these packages hostage, demanding drastic measures to address the southern border crisis. This deadlock presents a daunting challenge for a Congress struggling to govern. New House Speaker Mike Johnson also faces a critical decision between appeasing far-right members and keeping the government open and honoring U.S. obligations to allies involved in ongoing conflicts. The proximity of the Iowa caucuses and Trump's interest in causing chaos in Washington could further complicate the resolution of the government spending crisis.
Trump is planning campaign events in Iowa to expedite the primary and shift his focus to a general election campaign against Biden. However, his legal battles will constantly draw him away from the campaign trail. He is currently embroiled in a legal dispute with Maine and Colorado, which seek to bar him from the ballot under the 14th Amendment's insurrectionist ban. Additionally, he is engaged in legal battles with special counsel Jack Smith, asserting presidential immunity in his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. These cases may reach the Supreme Court and potentially expand executive authority. On January 11, the civil fraud trial targeting Trump, his adult sons, and the Trump Organization in New York will reach its closing arguments. The judge aims to issue a final ruling by the end of the month, although Trump's legal team has already appealed previous rulings. Other legal challenges loom, including a racketeering trial in Georgia related to alleged election interference and a federal case in Florida concerning the handling of classified documents.
The outcome of the appeals court's decision on Trump's immunity claim is crucial, as it may impact the start date of his federal election interference trial, possibly delaying it past Super Tuesday. This could also affect the schedules of other judges and determine whether Trump faces a criminal trial before the November election. Alternatively, Trump may succeed in running out the clock and potentially nullify federal criminal cases against him with presidential authority if he wins in November. The U.S. Appeals Court in Washington, D.C., will hear Trump's arguments to overturn a lower court ruling on January 9, and this case may end up before the Supreme Court, further entangling the judiciary in the political heat of a contentious presidential election.
Trump has until Thursday to appeal the Colorado Supreme Court's decision to remove him from the ballot, and several other states have rejected similar efforts. Maine's Democratic Secretary of State Shenna Bellows has also announced a decision to bar Trump from the ballot, pending his appeal.